Onyeka and Ndidi had been married for 2 years. Both of them had dark skin, but when Ndidi gave birth, the baby was light-skinned. Onyeka was shocked and confused. The baby looked just like Ndidi, but the skin was so different. For 6 months he waited, hoping the baby's skin would darken, but it didn't. Onyeka knew that sometimes babies are born light, but he thought by 6 months the color would change. He added more time, hoping his suspicion would be wrong, but after a year, the baby's skin stayed light. Onyeka felt hurt and betrayed. He believed Ndidi had cheated on him and had another man's child. His mother, Mama Onyeka, had warned him not to marry Ndidi, but he had not listened. For 6 months, Onyeka stopped talking to Ndidi properly. He didn't touch her, eat her food, or go near the baby. He was waiting for her to admit what she had done, but Ndidi didn't understand. She kept crying and asking him what was wrong. Onyeka was upset and couldn't see himself raising another man's child. To deal with the pain, Onyeka started seeing another woman, Enyioma. After 6 months, Enyioma got pregnant and her family insisted Onyeka marry her. Onyeka's mother was very happy and supported the marriage. Later, Onyeka and Enyioma had a traditional marriage, but Enyioma was aware that Onyeka was married and needed time to send Ndidi away. Onyeka and his mother convinced Enyioma to stay with his mother for 2 weeks, saying it was tradition. But time was running out, and Onyeka couldn't hide the truth forever. Onyeka finally told Ndidi about his second marriage and how he believed the baby wasn't his. Ndidi was heartbroken. She cried and insisted that she had never cheated on him. She asked for a DNA test and even offered to pay for it. Onyeka agreed and did the test himself. When the results came back, Onyeka was shocked. The baby was 100% his. He couldn't understand how two dark-skinned parents could have a light-skinned baby. Onyeka felt terrible. He had wronged his wife and his child. Now he was stuck with a difficult question. How would he fix this mistake? How could he tell Enyioma the truth, that Ndidi hadn't cheated and the baby was his? Onyeka stood, holding the DNA results, wondering what he would do next. Ndidi returned home from the clinic, still feeling betrayed. The moment she stepped into the house, she distanced herself from Onyeka, unable to bear the weight of his silent accusations. Onyeka, though shaken by the results, wasn't fully convinced. He started digging into his family's history, questioning both his relatives and Ndidi's. As far as he knew, his lineage was made up of dark-skinned people, stretching back to his great-grandparents. One evening, he politely queried Ndidi, "Is there anyone in your family who's light-skinned?" He asked, his voice hesitant but firm. Without a word, Ndidi went into the bedroom and returned with an old family photograph. It was a picture of her grandfather surrounded by all his grandchildren. Ndidi's father had made sure each of his children and their cousins had a copy for a moment exactly like this. Onyeka stared at the image. His baby boy looked exactly like Ndidi's grandfather. It was undeniable. Ndidi's grandfather was a light-skinned man. The realization hit him like a wave. He had been wrong all along. "Please, Ndidi," Onyeka whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm sorry. I was a fool to doubt you." But Ndidi deeply hurt, shook her head. Sorry, you thought I cheated on you, Onyeka. I can't just forgive you. He begged and pleaded, but she remained unmoved. Her voice was cold and distant as she added, I won't forgive you as long as you are still married to Enyioma. Onyeka was crushed. He had never imagined a life with two wives. It was a mistake he never intended to make. His love for Ndidi was still strong, but now, what was he to do about Enyioma and her child? He couldn't bring them into his home to live with Ndidi. Enyioma, unaware of Onyeka's internal struggle, kept pressuring him. You promised you'll send Ndidi away, she said. If you don't, I'm moving in. Just as Onyeka was drowning in confusion, an unknown number sent him a message that changed everything. Enyioma's child isn't yours. Don't be deceived. Shocked but determined, Onyeka played it cool. Onyeka went to Enyioma. He pretended everything was normal. I don't want to make another mistake, he said calmly. I'm going to have a DNA test done for the baby. If it's mine, I'll send Ndidi away. Enyioma's face paled. What? How could you suggest such a thing? She stammered, trying to mask her fear. Are you doubting me? I'm serious, Onyeka insisted. The test will decide everything. Enyioma hesitated, panic seeping into her voice. She agreed to the test, but asked him to come back the next day. When Onyeka returned the next day, he found her apartment empty. Enyioma and her baby had vanished. Later that evening, as Onyeka arrived home, he was greeted by a delivery man holding a small parcel. Opening it, he found a set of divorce papers signed by Enyioma. Tucked inside was a letter, a simple apology for deceiving him about the child's paternity. Onyeka stood frozen, staring at the papers in disbelief. What would he do now? Could he mend the shattered pieces of his marriage to Ndidi? Or was it too late to reclaim the love they once had? After Onyeka found out that Enyioma had left with her baby, a part of him felt a huge sense of relief. He didn't have to deal with the burden of another woman and child that wasn't his. However, his heart was still heavy. The hardest part was ahead, winning back Ndidi's trust. Onyeka knew that he had hurt Ndidi deeply. She had distanced herself from him, barely speaking a word, and refused to eat with him or even stay in the same room. She was hurt that the man she loved and trusted could believe such a terrible thing about her. Days turned into weeks, and Onyeka tried everything to make amends. He apologized sincerely, but Ndidi was firm. How could you think I would betray you like that? How can I trust you again after what you did? Onyeka was desperate. He still loved Ndidi and couldn't bear the thought of losing her. He remembered how much she had sacrificed for him, how supportive she had been, and how she had loved him with all her heart. He regretted letting his doubts and the opinions of others cloud his judgment. One day, Onyeka sat down with Ndidi and said, I was wrong. I allowed fear and confusion to take over. I've seen the picture of your grandfather, and I now understand everything. But I know just saying sorry isn't enough. I am ready to do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. I have already ended things with Enyioma, and I won't ever make the mistake of doubting you again. Ndidi looked at him, tears welling up in her eyes. It's not just about the apology, Onyeka. You made me feel worthless, like my loyalty and love meant nothing. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. Onyeka's voice cracked as he replied, I know, and that's what I regret the most. I let my pride and insecurities get in the way. I never doubted your love before, and I promise I will never do that again." For weeks, Onyeka continued to show his commitment, making sure he was there for Ndidi and their child. He took on responsibilities at home, showed her kindness, and never pressured her to forgive him. He gave her time to heal. One evening, after watching Onyeka play with her son, Ndidi felt her heart soften. She remembered the love they once had, the dreams they shared, and how deeply they had cared for each other before everything went wrong. She walked up to Onyeka and said, "I won't lie, it's been hard, but I see how sorry you are, and I know you've learned your lesson. I'll forgive you, but trust takes time to rebuild." Onyeka smiled with tears in his eyes, grateful for the second chance. "Thank you, Ndidi. I will spend every day making sure I'm the husband and father you both deserve." From the story, it is clear that doubt and suspicion can destroy relationships if we let them. Trust, understanding, and open communication are important in marriage. Onyeka learned that allowing fear and others' opinions to influence him almost cost him the people he loved the most. In the end, true love requires forgiveness, patience, and a willingness to admit when you are wrong. This is Umma's story time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I am Amarachi Ihoma, the young storyteller.